Yo, what is going on, guys? Flashverse here, and welcome back to another video on the Flash Season 6. And for today's video, I will be talking about the return of Godspeed, and I will be going over things about the new penultimate episode for this season, that being Season 6, Episode 18, titled Pay the Piper. Before I do that, however, you guys don't forget to drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel so you are aware of more Arrowverse content coming your way. Now, firstly, to go over, we have a synopsis released for this episode, which I will be breaking down. So the synopsis is as follows. When Godspeed returns, Barry turns to Hartley Rathaway for help. However, things get tense quickly after Barry realizes one of the changes from Crisis is that the Flash and Pied Piper are now enemies. Meanwhile, Iris tries to escape the Mirrorverse. Now, this synopsis is quite interesting but confusing in the same time as well, because one thing I've picked out as soon as I've read this is that it says Barry realizes one of the changes from Crisis is that the Flash and Pied Piper are enemies, but the thing that's confusing is that Barry already knew that from episode 13 of this season, and that is just weird. I don't know why they'd mentioned that in the synopsis, but maybe we will get like some flashbacks related to what happens between these two, so we find out more about what happens, or they could just like explain what happens. I don't know, but it is weird that they mentioned that. And we then have Barry turning to Hartley Rathaway. Now, this is pretty interesting as well. I am quite interested to find out why in particular Barry needs help from Hartley. Maybe it's that Barry's speed is in a very like critical situation, so he does need help from someone, and maybe due to like Ralph, Caitlin, and Cisco being unavailable, he would need help from Pied Piper. Maybe Hartley Rathaway has some new powers that could potentially like hurt speedsters, so that could also be why Barry needs help from Pied Piper. Who knows? Now, the main question is that Godspeed is returning for this episode. Now, the reason behind this could be because of Blackhole, as I've mentioned before in my previous Godspeed videos. As in the comics, Godspeed has strong tie-ins with Blackhole, and maybe they could like incorporate some things in the comics as well and add that as part of the story for season 6. Now, it was also teased as well in episode 1 of this season that there have been 4 Godspeed clones before this one, so maybe this final version of Godspeed or a 5th clone maybe like has been like perfected, and like Blackhole's like, okay, this is our new version and final version of Godspeed, and they release that version. As I will link that video in the description down below. I did make a video about Godspeed's return, which I've mentioned some of these, but I'm not gonna make you guys watch an entire video so you guys know what I had to say, so I'm just pretty much like mentioning these again. Now, we know Blackhole has been operating since the particle accelerator has exploded, so this could potentially lead to a very comic accurate arc where we have Godspeed actually get hit by the Speedforce lightning back in season 3, and maybe like Blackhole finds this person and they're like, oh look, this is someone like the Flash, and then they try to create their own version of the Speedforce before releasing the actual Godspeed. Now, when I talk about the actual Godspeed, I don't mean August Hart, because they've already used that, and I don't think there have been like casting choices for August Hart as well, so I think that they'll just use like another actor. But yeah, so Blackhole would go like, okay, we can make our own version of the Speedforce, so they take this version of Godspeed and then they try perfecting their own Speedforce. Now, this could also be a good link for Barry, because we know that Barry needs to make an artificial Speedforce as well. So when Barry defeats this version of Godspeed, maybe like he will like unlock the remaining answers to how he can create his own Speedforce. And lastly, in the synopsis, it does say that Iris tries to escape the Mirrorverse. So this means that Iris now knows for sure that Eva is behind Iris sucking her inside of this mirrorverse. Now, in episode 17, Barry now knows that Mirror Iris isn't his Iris, so Barry would probably try to save Iris as well. But in the synopsis, it does say tries to escape the mirrorverse, which does lead you to believe that she may fail to do so. But speaking of Godspeed's return as well, Grant Gustin, aka the actor playing Barry Allen, the Flash, also has some few things to say about this episode. It's an episode where we're going to see some crisis changes, and Hartley Rathaway, aka Pied Piper, is going to be back. In that episode, Godspeed is back. Hartley really isn't a friend when he comes back, but Barry's going to need to find a way to reconnect with Hartley and try to fix what crisis changed and stop Godspeed and try to save the city. Now, from what Grant Gustin is teasing over here, it hints to more crisis changes, so we may potentially get to see what happens between Barry and Hartley, as I've mentioned before, and then Barry could potentially give Hartley his, pre-crisis memories back. Who knows? But obviously the main thing to get from this episode is that could it be after this episode that Hartley becomes an ally of Barry again? Now, maybe, I think, because it's kind of weird, because their relationship started off as a villain, and then Pied Piper became an ally, and now he's a villain again. And if he becomes an ally, I just think that it would be off, but I don't know what they'll do, and I am very excited for this. But yeah, guys, this is pretty much it for this video. If you guys have enjoyed the video, please give a like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next video.